What if the market was never your real opponent? Imagine staring at glowing screens filled with candlesticks, headlines, and flashing numbers, convinced they are plotting against you. But beneath that surface, the fiercest enemy isn't out there. It lives inside your own chest. Every time you click buy or sell, something stirs in the shadows of your mind. A sly whisper tells you to hold on to a losing trade just a little longer, because maybe, just maybe, it will turn around. Another push urges you to close a winner too soon, cutting yourself off from the very profits your analysis predicted. Anger can surge, filling your hands with reckless energy, driving you to chase losses in a frenzy of revenge trades. These aren't random mistakes. They are the fingerprints of a hidden saboteur, a force older and closer than any market fluctuation. This is your anti-strategy, the shadow that thrives within every trader of shaping outcomes long before the market does. Step into your trading room. Charts neatly aligned, indicators glowing with precision, and a written plan sitting by your side. On the surface, it looks like discipline, like control. But discipline has a silent rival. A sudden drop in a candle jolts your nerves, and before you know it, your hand clicks the buy button to average down. For a fleeting moment, you tell yourself this was smart, adaptive, even necessary. Yet deep down, you know the truth. This wasn't part of the plan. This was the whisper of your shadow, the anti strategy. Anti strategy is not a system you design, nor one you proudly document. It is the hidden script you follow when emotion seize the wheel. It thrives in panic, in boredom, in overconfidence, and unlike your carefully built plan, it has no rules, only impulses disguised as logic. Consider what a massive study once revealed. Researchers analyzed more than 28 million trades placed by 81,000 retail traders. The findings were shocking. These traders predicted market direction correctly more than half the time. Their analysis was solid. Yet, despite being right more often than wrong, they lost money. Why? Because they cut winners too early, banking small profits while letting losers run far beyond reason. On average, they took 40 pips in gain but surrendered 75 pips in loss. This was not poor forecasting. This was sabotage from within. Think back to your own trades. The moment you closed out early because you feared giving back profit. The time you doubled down after a loss, convincing yourself you were seizing opportunity. The impulse entry after boredom gnawed at your patience. Each one felt rational in the moment. Each one betrayed your plan. These actions are the fingerprints of anti-strategy, the shadow-wearing masks of intuition and urgency. Why is it so dangerous? Because it rarely announces itself. It sneaks in wearing the clothes of flexibility and adaptation. It convinces you that abandoning your edge is the smart play. It whispers that rules are shackles, that gut feel is freedom. But every time you listen, your fortress of discipline cracks. Here's a reflection for you. In the past week, how many of your trades were executed by plan, and how many were hijacked by impulse? Just take note, because the moment you name anti-strategy for what it is, you strip away its disguise. You begin to see the shadow not as instinct, but as sabotage. Recognition is the first weapon, and with it, you can finally start fighting the invisible enemy. A trader without defenses is like a soldier walking into battle without armor. You might carry the sharpest sword, your strategy, your analysis, your indicators, but one arrow from your own shadow can end the fight before it begins. Building your fortress is not about fighting the market harder. It's about creating walls strong enough to shield you from yourself, structures that protect you when emotions flare and discipline falters. The first wall must be rules carved in stone, not guidelines, not suggestions, rules that do not bend regardless of how you feel in the moment. Begin with a maximum daily loss rule. Choose a number, 1%, 2%, whatever amount allows you to sleep at night. When you hit that threshold, you stop. No exceptions. No just one more trade. The market will still be there tomorrow, but your capital will not if you gamble to get even. Next, the risk per trade rule. Decide in advance the percentage of your account you're willing to lose on any single position. 0.5%, 1%, maybe 2%. Automate it. Make it impossible to override in a burst of overconfidence. When the decision is removed from emotion, your fortress gains another wall. Then comes the pre-trade checklist. Before you click, ask, is this setup truly in my plan? Is my risk defined? Am I calm, not fearful or euphoric? Is my stop loss placed? If any box is unchecked, you do not trade. It's that simple. Every checklist you complete is one less doorway for the shadow to slip through. But rules alone are not enough. Even the strongest fortress requires circuit breakers to stop a surge before it destroys the system. For traders, the most powerful breaker is the step-away rule. If anger, panic, or euphoria takes hold, you push back from the desk. Stand, breathe, walk outside. Create distance between emotion and action. This single step can save not just accounts, but entire careers. History proves it. Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest traders alive, built his career on unshakable risk management. He never risked more than 1 to 2% of capital per trade. He always had a predetermined exit. That discipline wasn't glamorous, but it kept him alive while storms wiped out others. His fortress looked simple from the outside, but inside, it was iron. Here lies the paradox. The stronger your fortress, the freer you become. With walls, rules, and breakers in place, you no longer wrestle with every decision. You are protected from your worst impulses, free to focus on your best analysis. That is the liberation of discipline, the freedom bought by structure. So, pause for a moment. What are your walls right now? Do you have rules that cannot bend? Do you have breakers that can save you from yourself? Or are you walking into battle with armor made of paper, hoping luck will protect you? Your fortress is not optional, it is survival. Build it now before the next arrow flies. The cruelest paradox in trading is this: the most dangerous moment isn't when you're drowning in losses, it's when you're celebrating victory. Success feels intoxicating. You hit your target, your account balance grows, and for a brief shining moment, you feel invincible. But invincibility is a lie, and victories can turn into traps that sharpen your shadow's blade. History gives us warnings carved in painful detail. Jesse Livermore, one of the most famous speculators of all time, became a legend during the 1929 crash, shorting the market while others were ruined. His fortune soared to what would now equal hundreds of millions. Outsiders saw a genius who had conquered the chaos, but behind the brilliance was a darker pattern. Each victory fed his ego. Each success loosened his discipline. Eventually, the very confidence that carried him upward pulled him down. Livermore won spectacularly, and he lost just as spectacularly because he could not master himself after winning. Think back to your own trading. What happened after your biggest win? Did you stick to your system? Or did you feel a surge of daring, a whisper saying, "Take a bigger risk. You've cracked the code"? Many traders, high on success, double their position sizes, chase trades outside their plan, or ignore stops they once swore by. Rules begin to feel unnecessary. Discipline feels like shackles for lesser traders. But this illusion of control is the shadow's sweetest trap. Studies in behavioral finance confirm what legends lived. Traders often take their greatest risks right after their biggest wins, blinded by euphoria. The brain rewards them with the same rush as addictive drugs, clouding judgment and silencing caution. Success becomes the enemy, not because of the profit itself, but because of the overconfidence it breeds. So pause. Ask yourself the hard question. What do you do after you win? Do you double down recklessly, or do you stop, breathe, and remember that mastery is measured not by one great trade, but by consistency across thousands? The market is patient. It will wait until your shadow whispers that rules no longer apply, then strike. If Livermore, a man who outsmarted the Great Depression, could fall to his own shadow, none of us are immune. The market is a mirror. It doesn't just reflect charts and price action, it reflects you. Every trade leaves behind a fingerprint of your psychology, and if you look closely, those prints reveal the exact shape of your shadow. Unmasking your personal saboteurs isn't about theory. It's about evidence. It's about facing the uncomfortable truth that the real enemy is woven into your own habits and emotions. Your saboteurs are unique. For some, it's boredom. Quiet markets feel unbearable, so you force trades just to feel alive. For others, it's euphoria. One win sparks a frenzy of overconfidence, and greed takes the wheel. Still others carry the weight of old wounds, chasing revenge against a market that has no memory of your last loss. Here's a practical exercise. Pull up your last 20 trades. Forget about profit and loss for a moment. Look deeper. What were you feeling before each click? Were you calm, confident, aligned with your plan? Or were you restless, anxious, eager to prove something? Did you follow position sizing rules, or did you bend them just this once? One trader, Maya Torres, discovered her hidden saboteur through this process. Her trading log looked polished, clean entries, clear exits, detailed notes, but when she added emotions to the record, a pattern appeared. Every time the market slowed, she grew impatient. That impatience drove her to break her rules, forcing trades outside her plan. The numbers alone didn't expose the truth. Honest reflection did. And once she saw it, she couldn't unsee it. Try it yourself. Take one recent trade that went wrong. Don't judge the outcome. Ask, what rule did I bend? What emotion drove the choice? What story did I tell myself to justify it? You might be shocked by the clarity that emerges. Researchers studying millions of retail trades uncovered the same truth. The worst losses didn't come from volatility or news. They came during boredom, euphoria, and revenge states. Sabotage didn't look like chaos. It looked like traders acting rational while secretly ruled by emotion. Compare your planned trades to your actual ones over the last month. How often did you jump in early? How often did you close too soon? How many times did you size up impulsively? Quantify the cost. You'll likely discover most of your losses weren't strategy failures at all. They were acts of sabotage disguised as decisions. When you dare to unmask your saboteurs, blame falls away. The market isn't hunting you. Bad luck isn't targeting you. The patterns stealing your profits are the ones living inside your own process. Once you see them, you can no longer claim ignorance. Recognition is liberation. The question is, are you willing to face what the mirror shows? Destruction in trading rarely comes from calm, deliberate choices. It comes in the heat of battle when screens flash red or green and adrenaline surges through your veins. In those moments, the shadow whispers, act now or lose everything. And that urgency is the trap. The greatest edge you can develop isn't speed, it's pause. This is the 10-minute rule, your emergency brake against self-sabotage. Here's how it works. Whenever you feel the irresistible urge to act impulsively, chase a breakout, double down after a loss, close a winner too soon, you stop. You set a timer for 10 minutes. No exceptions. During that pause, the flood of adrenaline begins to fade, the fog of fear or greed lifts, and your rational brain comes back online. What looked urgent a moment ago often looks reckless after the pause. Picture this, you just took a painful loss. Rage floods your body. Your finger hovers over the mouse, ready to strike back with a bigger position. But you've trained yourself. You push back from the desk, start the timer, and pace the room. By the time the alarm sounds, the chart looks different. The revenge trade that seems so tempting now looks like chaos. You preserved your account and your discipline simply by waiting. Neuroscience confirms it. When fear, anger, or euphoria takes over, the amygdala hijacks decision-making. Blood flow shifts away from the rational prefrontal cortex toward primal survival circuits. It takes roughly 10 minutes for that storm to calm. The pause isn't weakness, it's biology working in your favor. And the rule applies to winning too. When green numbers climb and your heart races with euphoria, you may feel invincible. That's when greed urges you to size up recklessly. 10 minutes of stillness creates space for one crucial question. Am I trading my plan or my emotion? Some traders resist, afraid of missing out. But the truth is, the market isn't going anywhere. There will always be another setup, another candle. What won't always be there is your capital if you let urgency run wild. Think of the 10-minute rule as a circuit breaker in your system. When pressure surges, the breaker trips, protecting you from meltdown. One pause may feel small, but it can save entire accounts. The shadow thrives on urgency. The pause exposes its illusion. Picture an ancestor standing outside his cave 50,000 years ago. The bushes rustle, his heart pounds, fear whispers, stay back, danger hides there. Then he sees a herd of animals grazing. Greed whispers, take the risk, meat for weeks. These two voices ensured survival, etched into our DNA. But in the trading arena, those same voices become puppeteers, pulling strings we don't even see until it's too late. Fear is the hand that freezes you when the perfect setup arrives. It's the hesitation that whispers, what if I'm wrong this time? It's the panic that makes you slam the close button on a winning trade just before it accelerates. Fear doesn't care about your strategy, it only cares about keeping you safe. But in trying to shield you from small pain, it robs you of great opportunity. Greed is the other hand, and it's no kinder. Greed seduces you into doubling your size after one lucky trade. It pushes you to chase price long after smart money has exited. It convinces you that rules are for the cautious, not for a genius like you. The rush feels intoxicating, but its grip leads you straight into traps. Most traders swing like broken pendulums between these poles. Monday, paralyzed by fear, they miss clear setups. Wednesday, high on greed, they overtrade into disaster. Think about your recent sessions. That night, you stayed awake until 3 a.m., glued to charts, terrified of missing the next big move. Was that analysis or fear dressed up as diligence? That time you doubled down after a win, was that strategy or greed in disguise? Research exposes the truth. One study tracked eye movements of day traders and found losers stared at their profit and loss numbers 60% longer than their charts. Fear ruled their focus. Another study using brain imaging revealed that traders ahead in profit lit up the same neural pathways as cocaine users. Greed isn't metaphorical, it's chemical. But here's the deeper truth. Fear and greed are not enemies to destroy. They are signals. Fear might be telling you your position size is too large or that you haven't accounted for a real risk. Greed might be showing you that you're chasing outcomes instead of process. The best traders don't silence these voices, they interpret them. So think of your last trade. What was fear really saying? What was greed really seeking? Was it money or the high of being right? Once you decode the whispers, they lose their power. Fear and greed no longer jerk your strings, they become messages guiding you back to balance. If fear and greed are the puppeteers, then limiting beliefs are the strings they pull. These aren't fleeting emotions that pass with each trade. They are deep convictions, carved into your subconscious long before you ever opened a platform. They are whispers from childhood, cultural messages absorbed without question, invisible chains guiding your hand without your awareness. Consider the trader who analyzes markets brilliantly, spots clean setups, even practices profitably on paper accounts. Yet the moment real money is at risk, sabotage begins. He cuts winners too soon, holds losers until they collapse. Dig deeper, and you often uncover beliefs like, I don't deserve wealth, or money corrupts good people. To him, profit feels unsafe, so he gives it back to the market. Another case, a trader raised in a home where money was constant conflict. Subconsciously, he learned that wealth destroys relationships. As an adult, whenever his account grows, he sabotages gains because deep down, success feels dangerous. Or the trader who grew up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees. You must work hard for every dollar. When profits come quickly through trading, they feel undeserved, so he overtrades to earn the struggle again. The most destructive belief is this: I must always be right. Often rooted in childhood where mistakes meant shame or punishment, this belief makes cutting losses nearly impossible. Each losing trade becomes an assault on identity. Research in behavioral finance shows traders from harsh backgrounds hold losers far longer than those raised in forgiving environments, because being wrong is unbearable. There's also the belief that markets are rigged against small traders. This fosters a victim mindset where losses are always someone else's fault. Responsibility vanishes and growth halts. Take a moment. What did your parents teach you about money? What stories about wealth shaped you? Do you secretly believe you don't deserve success? These hidden convictions may be the real source of sabotage. But here's the empowering truth. Beliefs are not permanent. They are simply thoughts practiced until they feel real. And just as they were learned, they can be unlearned. To defeat anti-strategy permanently, you must rebuild your foundations. Without addressing beliefs, no checklist or rule can save you. Think of your brain as an overprotective parent, still treating you like a child who can't handle risk. It means well, but its advice no longer fits your reality. Recognition is the first step. Breathe, notice the patterns, and question them. You are not broken for having limiting beliefs. You are human. Every trader carries invisible chains. The difference lies in whether you let them control you or whether you choose to break them. Up until now, we've treated the shadow like an assassin, always lurking, waiting to strike at the worst moment. And in many ways, that's true. But here's the paradox that separates stuck traders from evolving ones. The shadow isn't only here to destroy you, it's also here to teach you. Every act of sabotage carries a message. Every repeated mistake is a signal pointing to the exact area where you need to grow stronger. If you consistently overtrade when markets slow, your shadow is saying, You haven't mastered patience. If you cling to losing positions, it whispers, you haven't made peace with being wrong. If you cut winners too early, the message is clear. You don't yet trust your process. The shadow doesn't appear randomly. It shows up precisely where your foundations are weakest. Most traders curse it. They deny it, fight it, or bury it, pretending they can banish their flaws. But the ones who evolve study it. They ask, why did I break my rule today? What belief was behind that action? They don't see sabotage as failure. They see it as feedback. Carl Jung wrote that wholeness doesn't come from chasing perfection, but from embracing the parts of ourselves we try to disown. For traders, that means fear, greed, and impatience don't need to be exiled. They need to be integrated. Fear can sharpen respect for risk. Greed can fuel healthy ambition. Impatience can signal a need for structure. What once sabotaged you can, with awareness, begin to strengthen you. Consider this. Many professional traders say their best rules were written in the blood of their own losses. They didn't invent discipline out of thin air. They forged it from mistakes that burned them so deeply they had to change. Their shadow was brutal, but it was also their teacher. One trader, Daniel Ruiz, used to revenge trade every time he lost. He doubled down, fueled by anger. Instead of just trying to stop, he studied the pattern. He discovered he tied losing trades to his self-worth. Once he realized losses didn't define his intelligence, the revenge cycle lost its grip. His shadow had been pointing straight at the lesson he needed. So stop asking how to kill the shadow. Start asking what it's trying to teach you. Each time you feel the urge to bend a rule, pause and ask, what's the lesson here? Write it down. Track it. Let it guide the evolution of your rules and systems. The shadow will never leave. But it doesn't have to be your enemy. It can become your sparring partner, sharpening your edge. The trader who integrates his shadow doesn't fear sabotage anymore. He learns to dance with it, transforming what once broke him into what now builds him. Your shadow thrives in silence. Alone in a room with only glowing screens, its whispers sound like truth. Just one more trade, no one will know. In isolation, self-deception flourishes. But bring another person into the room, and suddenly those whispers weaken. Accountability dissolves illusions faster than discipline alone ever could. This is the power of tribe. Not a noisy crowd of opinions, but a carefully chosen circle. Mentors, peers, accountability partners, united by one mission: sustainable growth through disciplined execution. In a tribe, your commitments carry weight. Alone, you can break your rules and excuse yourself. But when you must explain those same choices to others, the excuses shrink. History offers proof. The turtle trader experiment of the 1980s trained ordinary people to follow a system. Some thrived, others failed. What separated them wasn't intelligence, it was discipline, reinforced by group accountability. Even legends understand this truth. Paul Tudor Jones often credits mentors for shaping his philosophy. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater on radical transparency, where no decision escaped scrutiny. Think about your own trading. How many times have you promised yourself, this time I'll stick to my rules, only to break them within days? Words spoken only in your head carry little force, but words spoken to a tribe become a contract. With accountability, discipline hardens. Without it, the shadow thrives. And tribe brings more than accountability. Allies see patterns you can't. They remind you that one loss doesn't erase your skill, that one win doesn't make you invincible. They normalize the emotional swings of trading, transforming solitude's echo chamber into a chorus of perspective. Here's your action step. Identify one person who could serve as an accountability partner. Share your rules with them. Ask them to check in. This small step can shift your relationship with discipline. Because your shadow feeds in darkness, but in the light of community, it loses much of its grip. Alone, you fight whispers. Together, you build resilience. Every warrior has rituals before battle. They sharpen weapons, steady breathing, and prepare their spirit. A trader needs the same, not out of superstition, but necessity. Each morning, you don't just face charts and numbers, you face your inner weather. Fear, boredom, overconfidence, distraction, all wait to hijack your decisions. Without ritual, the shadow strikes before your first trade. Mindfulness is armor, and it begins before the market opens. Instead of rushing to screens, check yourself first. Ask, what is my state today? Am I calm, restless, overconfident? Write it down, because what you don't name controls you. What you name, you can manage. Breathing is another weapon. 3 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing activates your parasympathetic system, calming the storm and restoring clarity. That single act can separate reaction from response. Visualization turns preparation into practice. Close your eyes, see yourself waiting patiently for setups, executing calmly, following your plan even as price moves against you. Athletes use this technique to train under pressure. Traders should too. Create a pre-market ritual. Journal your state, breathe, review your rules out loud, visualize discipline. When rituals become automatic, you stop relying on willpower under fire. Discipline shifts from struggle to muscle memory. But preparation doesn't end once the bell rings. Your focus will fade, your stress will build. Without breaks, your shadow will eventually take the wheel. Step away deliberately, stretch, walk, breathe. Protect clarity the way you protect capital. Professional firms already train their traders in meditation and stress management, recognizing that edge comes as much from state of mind as from strategy. You don't need to be a monk. You just need consistent practices anchoring you before, during, and after markets. Try this routine. Wake, write down your mental state, breathe for 10 minutes, review your plan aloud, visualize perfect execution. Trade. At close, reverse it, review results, journal emotions, plan tomorrow. Bookend the day so trading doesn't bleed into your entire life. Rituals aren't cages, they're anchors. They keep you steady in storms. They make discipline automatic and free your best self to trade. When your shadow rises, your rituals remind you who's in control. Trading seduces with flashes of green numbers, the thrill of catching breakouts, the rush of quick profits. It feels like transformation overnight. But mastery isn't built in days. The names etched into market history, Jones, Buffett, Dalio, understood this truth. The game is not a sprint to riches. It's a marathon of survival and growth. Your shadow doesn't vanish after one strong month or even a strong year. It walks beside you, patient, waiting for complacency or arrogance. The long game begins when you accept this reality and build systems designed not just to win today, but to last for decades. Perspective shifts everything. Success is no longer measured by one trade or one week. The real question becomes, am I becoming the kind of trader who can win consistently over years? When you embrace time as an ally, urgency loses power. Every tick no longer feels like life or death. Every missed move no longer feels fatal. Think about the traders who endured storms. Paul Tudor Jones didn't earn his reputation chasing daily glory. He survived because defense came first, offense second. Warren Buffett didn't build wealth chasing jackpots. He let time compound steadily, trusting patience over impulse. Their edge was not secret information, but a respect for the long arc. Meanwhile, anti-strategy thrives on short-term thinking. It urges you to chase every move, to double down after wins, to panic after losses. But as you shift toward the marathon mindset, the shadow transforms. It becomes less of an enemy and more of a sparring partner, pointing out weaknesses to strengthen. Consider your own journey. The mistakes that cost you the most likely taught you the greatest lessons about risk, discipline, and patience. The shadow wasn't only punishing you, it was training you. Here lies the paradox. Mastery doesn't come from erasing the shadow. It comes from learning to dance with it, letting it remind you where you're vulnerable, where you need structure, where growth awaits. Every loss becomes data. Every surge of greed or fear becomes feedback. The market tests you endlessly, not to break you, but to shape you. So stop chasing the jackpot trade. Start building the trader you want to be 5 years from now. See each day as practice. See each shadow encounter as training. The true victory isn't money in your account, though wealth follows. The true victory is becoming unshakable, calm in chaos, disciplined under fire, steady over decades. That is the long game, and the long game is where legends are born. You've walked through the battlefield of trading psychology. You've seen that the enemy isn't the market, but the shadow living in your own decisions. You've learned to spot anti-strategy, to build fortresses of rules and circuit breakers, to respect the traps of success, to unmask saboteurs, to pause before impulse, to recognize the voices of fear and greed, to mine lessons from every loss, to uncover the invisible chains of belief, to turn the shadow into teacher, to lean on tribe, to anchor yourself with rituals, and to embrace the long game. Now comes the most important question. What will you do with this understanding? Because this isn't just theory. It isn't just content to consume and nod along to, it's a mirror. Somewhere in these words, you recognized yourself. The hesitation before a click, the impulsive trade you justified, the anger after a loss, the overconfidence after a win. You've named your shadow, and once named, you can no longer pretend it doesn't exist. The choice is yours. You can ignore it, keep repeating cycles, blaming markets or luck, or you can confront it, embrace it, and transform it into your guide. But transformation begins not with massive change, it begins with one small act. Pick one tool, not 10, one. Maybe it's writing a trading journal that records emotions as well as numbers. Maybe it's enforcing the 10-minute rule for every impulsive urge. Maybe it's setting a maximum daily loss and actually stopping when you hit it. Maybe it's finding one accountability partner to hold you on. Whatever tool resonates most, choose it now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because discipline is not built in planning, it's built in action. Every rule you follow, every pause you honor, every journal entry you write lays another brick in your fortress. Over time, those bricks become walls, and those walls free you from sabotage. And don't walk this path alone. Isolation is where the shadow thrives. Speak your struggles out loud. Share your rules with someone you trust. Write in the comments below. What does your shadow look like? What's one pattern of sabotage you're ready to face? Your vulnerability may give someone else the courage to confront their own. Together, we strip power from the shadow by bringing it into the light. Remember this truth: trading mastery isn't about eliminating mistakes or achieving perfection. It's about transforming your relationship with both success and failure. Every error, every loss, every surge of fear or greed can be raw material for growth if you choose to use it. Your shadow doesn't have to remain an enemy. It can be your greatest teacher, but only if you stop running and start listening. Only if you choose to see each battle not as destruction, but as training. So, here is the invitation. Commit to the long game starting today. Stop chasing jackpot trades. Start building the trader you want to be 5 years from now. See each trade as practice. See each shadow encounter as opportunity. You've looked in the mirror. You've seen the enemy within. The tools are in your hands. The path is before you. The only question left is simple. Are you ready to stop being a victim of sabotage and start becoming a master of yourself? The market is waiting. But more importantly, your future self is waiting too.